What is going on, everybody? You are listening to a new episode of Kessel Run Transmissions. It's a very special episode. As you can see, we have quite the assembly here tonight because, of course, today was the first part of the Siege of Mandalore, something that has been talked about for years by Dave Filoni and the cast of the Clone Wars, and we're finally here with the first episode, and I wanted to do this right. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to have pretty big shows, a lot of guests, all of us talking about this incredible arc. There's a lot to go over, so I'm going to introduce everybody. As always, I'm Corey, joined by my co-host and best friend, Ross.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Best episode of the Clone Wars.
Damn, there it is. This is right into it. Yeah. No, we also have, of course, joining us from the last couple of weeks of the Clone Wars Roundtables, we've got Eric Patrick Cameron.
How's it going, everybody? Happy to be here.
We also have Mark Von Olen from Top Star Wars Authentics.
Hey guys, best episode ever.
Correct. We've got Brian from Customs for the Kid.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing tonight?
Dude, pumped. We also have Elias from Customs for the Kid.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Exponentially well. And we've got Chad from Peak Obi-Wan.
Hello there.
And if you guys, before I introduce everyone else, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check out the Clone Wars showcases we've been doing. Chad, Brian, Elias, and Ross have put together some phenomenal pieces of Clone Wars custom figures, which I will show in a little bit. It's just, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. But we have joining us from First Order Transmissions, Dan Curto.
Hello, everyone. What a show! What an episode, man! Holy cow! I cried more than any grown man should at this TV show. Wow!
And
man.
Oh yeah, and returning from the first episode of our roundtables, we finally got Jesse back. The forces with Jesse.
How's it going, everyone?
Very good. And we've got from the Imperial Senate podcast, we have Claire.
What's up, guys? How excited are you?
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
It's a good day.
And it's a pretty great day, yeah.
Very good day.
And from Dan Grievous, we have Dan Grievous.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Two goose. Woo!
In case you guys don't know, and if you don't, I'd be surprised because we did go over this before, but Dan is the biggest fan of the character Tikis from the Clone Wars. I'm sorry, my bad. He never appeared in the Clone Wars, but he should have. And that will always
Tikis canon straight.
I mean, this new episode proved that anything is possible, so I won't be shocked if Dave Filoni sneaks in the little Tikis in the last 3 episodes.
There's 3 episodes. You never know. There's 3
right.
episodes.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So the way we're gonna do this tonight is, like usual, we'll do this individually. Everybody will give their thoughts on it, and then we'll just open this up for anyone talking and discussions, which is great when we have 11 people. So that'll be great and fun with no interruptions, I'm sure. So Ross, I'm going to let you go ahead and start off with talking about this episode, Old Friends Not Forgotten.
I was not prepared for just how phenomenal this first installment of the Siege of Mandalore was. I mean, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know if I was going to be able to sustain my consciousness to get into it. But then when it picked up, man, I was just floored start to finish. Everything from the very beginning sequence on the bridge, mirroring the Battle of Christophsis, now though with the animation taken as far as the series could go, was just excellent. And the entire episode, to me, to I guess keep things a little more short, it just has everything that made the Clone Wars special to me. It had the great characters, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and the clones all together in an episode. You had the grandiose environments, the large-scale battles, the best battle sequences of the whole series, by the way. And then you also have the conflicting character moments where the characters are questioning what's going on, questioning their values and the authority of those around them, and just all those different elements mixed in that make the Clone Wars a series of substance and made Star Wars evolve so much during its run. And the first installment of the Siege of Mandalore not only plays like a theatrical release, but it plays like just everything the Clone Wars is. And if that makes sense.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I really echo those thoughts.
After Ross said that, I think you pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, just, to echo your thoughts, man, I'll just give my thoughts on it real quick, is, it was the best episode of the series, for sure. And, we talk about this a lot, but most of us here only really got to meet each other through the Clone Wars. And that's, I think, a really powerful thing. And a lot of people have met through Star Wars in different ways, whether it be the sequel trilogy or the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, or whatever. Clone Wars just happened to be for most of us how we met. And genuinely, like, this episode was such a phenomenal love letter to the series because you had all the major players in it. And I think that's what made it so special. Seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin and Ahsoka in the same room as Bo-Katan talking about hunting Maul is something that, like, you can't imagine that stuff. Like, you can't think that stuff up. And then all of a sudden, here we are. We've got a full-fledged arc that's revolving completely around that. And so I love the episode. It was a straight 10 out of 10 for me. But Eric, what'd you think of it?
Oh man, it was truly a love letter to Clone Wars fans and to Star Wars fans in general. Like, the opening using the original Lucasfilm logo was a surprise to be welcome. And
yes.
I mean, using the main theme with the red Maul logo for the Clone Wars, and I mean, even the opening scene alone with Anakin and Obi-Wan and everyone, that is one of the best opening scenes I think we've ever had in a Star Wars story. And after that, I knew that we would be in for a ride. The Return of the Jedi music from the Q from Jabba's sail barge was there. There were references to The Last Jedi there. It was just, that opening scene alone was just so perfect. And once we got into the rest of that half an hour episode, longest episode ever, single episode.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the definition of perfect and absolutely one of the best. I'm hesitant to say the best, but it's probably tied for number one. There's just, it is truly peak Clone Wars storytelling. And I mean, if this is that good, I can't even imagine what the next three are going to be like, let alone the last episode. Like, we're in for a wild ride these next 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I think it's so weird because, like, the first episode of this arc is already, for me and Ross, our favorite of the series, and that I can't even imagine what these next 3 episodes have in store. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Dan, what did you think of this episode? Curto, sorry, Dan Curto. My bad. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
I wasn't Dan tonight.
Sorry.
So
I'm just going by like the squares.
It immediately made me forget about the last 4 episodes. Thank God. So we're right back where we should be with the Clone Wars. I really, really enjoyed the direction it was going. I already knew the scene where Anakin presents the 501st with the helmets all painted in her colors that Ross has behind him there. I knew it. I saw it in the trailer. I've seen it in commercials, whatever. But when it aired, I swear to God, man, I'm 51 years old and I'm bawling like a child. I'm like, oh my God, this was so good. And just the emotional meaning behind all of that. And like, Ahsoka, not everybody's favorite character, some people's very favorite character, depending when you ask him. But the clones, everybody has respect for her, which was not something that I thought they would discuss. And then seeing her in action when they were actually laying siege to Mandalore was just like that. It's just so good. It was just so much fun to watch. And then the finale, you knew Maul's gonna be in it, stepping out of the shadows of Maul. I'm like, there he is, man. That is my favorite Star Wars villain of any of the characters that have been that role, the villain. I'm the bad guy, right? So he is the baddest bad guy in Star Wars. So
100%.
Yeah, blown away, crying like a child. It's just ridiculous, but it was good.
Mark, what'd you think?
So I said a few weeks ago that the only 10 out of 10 episode in all of Clone Wars is The Lawless. This probably edges out The Lawless as my favorite episode of the series. I had very high expectations going in, and knowing a lot of the plot or what was supposed to be happening, there weren't a ton of surprises, but every moment hit with a lot of emotion. So they really didn't just deliver the what, they delivered really powerful moments from the opening with the green Lucasfilm logo. And from there, you were just swept away. I honestly thought we were going to get a crawl when it started, and I think people would have lost their minds.
Like a Tom Kane narrated crawl.
That would have been super cool. But I like the way they blended the theme, the main Star Wars theme, into then the Clone Wars theme, and there you were. And the sort of montage of what is going to become Order 66. I mean, there's a lot to unpack in this episode, and but I think at the end of the day, the performances are what sold it. Sam was great. Katie was great. Ashley's always great. Matt and James deliver. Like, the whole cast is phenomenal. And it was nice to see Gar Saxon again. It was like some people who I wasn't sure we were going to see him. And just seeing more of the Mandalorians. And I love that they're in red. Like, it just immediately tells you they're aligned with Maul. Like, little things like that. But I thought the best moment was actually the same, where the orange helmeted 501st members are all 100% behind Ahsoka, and they find that little loophole, to make, I guess, Rex captain now, or commander, to go lead the mission. So that was great, and it actually gives you. It actually also solves the problem we've all been wondering, like, how they're going to make this happen. So the how was delivered on with a lot of punch. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, like you said too, we knew a lot of what was going to happen in this episode just through sketches and trailers and whatnot. But yeah, it hit in a different way. Well, I knew it was going to be emotional, but yeah, not as emotional as it ended up being, which of course is a Dave Filoni special.
And meanwhile, no one important is dead yet. So wait for it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, this was emotional with buildup, but Order 66 didn't happen. None of the core people that we care about were killed in any of the fights. We haven't even seen the big lightsaber duel between Ahsoka and Maul. Like, there's a lot that we know is coming that's going to be way harder to watch. Although little moments made me scream, like seeing the hologram of actually Depa and Caleb Kanan was definitely one of those moments. Seeing Plo Koon, like those little things, like really pack a lot of punch for a long-time fan, like any of us that are on the Zoom call.
Yeah, I also have to add real quick, before I totally forget about this, I don't want to, is it was interesting that we have character models or updated character models for all the main Jedi. Ross was pointing this out to me earlier, and I don't know, I would say that that's not going to look too well for our favorite Jedi going forward, especially if they do Order 66. I think we're going to see a complete retelling of that in animation form, because Ayla Secura is on Felucia. We got Commander Bly. Like,
that was a nice touch.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, they telegraphed that right toward us. They were like, here they are. They're alive right now.
Yep.
Remember the last time you saw them in these spots?
Yep.
You've got an unused
Palpatine, but we didn't see him
models
yet.
there.
And now you're coming together will be your undoing.
Plo Koon, he's on Cato Nemoidia. So they didn't make those character models for nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Still got Bakara, Kiadi Mundi, and like they said, Deva Blava and Caleb, and
Right.
So,
Jesse, what were your overall thoughts on the episode?
I was just blown away from probably the first 30 seconds, like seeing Grievous, they're basically calling out his attack on Coruscant, and then just everything throughout the episode. Throughout this episode, we're an hour away from the start of Revenge of the Sith, where Revenge of the Sith picks up with Anakin and Obi-Wan. And there's just so many great story beats and bits and pieces in this episode that just completely blew me away. It is my favorite episode of the Clone Wars so far. It's just really, really great. Just visually as well, it looks stunning. Like every episode of this season so far has been visually incredible. And this wasn't an exception at all. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think we all know why we didn't get more than 12 episodes. Like when they announced that initially, my first thought was, okay, they're definitely going to repurpose an arc that we've seen before, and they did that with Bad Batch. And we know that they had the story reels for the Ahsoka arc already. Obviously, it was tooled around because they changed the characters from Nyx to the Martez sisters. So my whole thing with it is, I think it's clear Disney, if I were to guess, said we're going to give you this amount of money to do Siege of Mandalore, do it right, end it right, and you can do 2 additional arcs of existing material, which honestly I'm totally fine with at this point. Would I have loved to seen Son of Dathomir and all these, of course, but I think if anything, the only God, I say this every week. Here we go. If anything, the only other arc that should hopefully one day come out would be Son of Dathomir. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I reread Son of Dathomir during the week in preparation for this. It just flows so perfectly, and if this was like the last 4 episodes, we'd be in just perfection for the whole season.
Yes, exactly.
I just listened to that radio show that was posted on YouTube. I read the book a few years ago, right after Solo came out, and yesterday before Siege of Mandalore, I went through all 4 of those radio shows, and it was great. It was great. I mean, Maul's voice in that was incredible. It sounded just like Sam.
We'll have to check that out.
If you guys haven't checked that out, there is a YouTuber, I think it's Star Wars audio comic or something like that. He does great audio dramas for the comic books, and he did Son of Dathomir, and his Count Dooku is one of one. It's Christopher Lee. It's ridiculously good. So check that out if you guys haven't. But Brian, what did you think of this episode?
For me, a lot of the focus went on Ahsoka. I noticed a big growth of her as a follower. She's not a Jedi anymore, but there were certain things I noticed, like when they were coming in on the Republic gunships and she was fighting all the Maul Mandos. When she fought, she only hit their jetpacks and she hit their blasters. She didn't actually go to kill anybody.
Right.
Granted, some of those people were falling great distances and they were on their own, but when she spoke with Anakin and Obi-Wan, she was the adult in the room. Like, when Obi-Wan was pie in the sky government politics stuff, she called him on it. Anakin was all like, googly eyed, like, oh, Ahsoka's back. And she's like, yo, chill. There's serious stuff going on. That takes a back seat. She had really advanced. And what I noticed too, and this is something, I noticed in past episodes, Ahsoka had a lot of respect from even Bo-Katan. Like when Maul ends up relaying to Bo-Katan that it's essentially a trap, there's panic in her voice and real concern for Ahsoka's safety. So she, like, you could tell that during this time that we had missed, that there was some kind of strong bond that developed between the two of them. And that's something that's really cool about Ahsoka, because we got the same reaction from someone like Ventress, years, way back in the day, which says a lot about Ahsoka. I think she's the coolest
100%.
Jedi that we've ever been exposed to.
Oh, yeah. I think she's the only Jedi who's willing to tell off other members of the council, which I think is phenomenal.
And there's a lot of bad blood there between her and Obi-Wan.
Yeah. There is.
I mean, he threw her under the bus.
Yeah.
You think that's someone who's going to have your back at the end of the day, and he just didn't have it.
Yeah, Obi made some mistakes for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Ahsoka didn't see the bigger picture, so.
Oh boy, here we go. Oh no. So Chad, what did you think of the episode?
Oh my gosh. So here we go. This morning, I love that you guys are saying love letter. Not only is it a love letter to fans, it's also a love letter to George. Dave's like,
yes,
you want me to make this good? Okay, hold my beer. He's like, I'm going to make this great. And he made Ahsoka, his character, so wonderful. This morning, me and my wife she cooked this awesome breakfast for us. I had to go to work this morning, but we watched it before I left. And I'm sitting there eating, and I'm like, I can't eat because I'm crying, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it again, because it was just so emotionally driven, just every single bit of it, just the music, in itself was so wonderful. You know, the expressions, you know, these facial expressions that they were having, they just kept breaking me down. Like Kurto said, I was a mess, man. I was just like,
I felt like the way the animators animated this
yes,
was awesome.
Yes, totally.
There was just as much acting in the animation as there was in the voice acting.
Right, and it just.
I want to talk about. I have my piece to say about all the animation. I feel like this week really like raised the bar.
Oh yeah. Oh, the budget was pretty high on this one, I'm thinking.
The model for Grievous in the one shot was perfect.
Oh.
Yeah, one little shot of Grievous, and you're just like, oh my God, he looks so good. That was the thing I missed about the Crystal Crisis or whatever, you know, because you're gonna get that updated model of Grievous.
Man, speaking of updating models, that Olmec model,
everybody looked
in
good.
the Mando outfit.
Everybody looked good.
Olmec kicked some butt. Yo, he was always like a little bit, laid back, never actually did anything, but he punched and kicked and he was fighting. Oh my God.
Olmec. His outfit was different colors than everybody else's.
So they almost made him like a veteran, like he was like it makes sense that, and I kind of like that they added that, and yeah, his armor was just wild.
Well, his outfit actually looked like some dictator from
from
South America, like El Presidente.
Yeah, agreed. Totally.
His armor was very Boba Fett, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice little touch.
I thought it was so when we first saw him with the armor, just add in real quick, I thought it was like a Jodo cast kind of look to him. But
you said that, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of Vanessa Marshall voiced?
Yes,
Rook
Cast.
Cast. I was thinking prior to seeing this episode, I always thought the armorer could have been Rook Cast because she has the owl eyes in her helmet and she has the horns like Maul. But after I think they would have used it was Emily Swallow that plays her on The Mandalorian.
Yes.
They probably would have used her voice if she was Rook Cast. So now that it was Vanessa Marshall, I don't think it's very likely.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't think we're going to see the armor in any animation. That's just the feeling I get with it. I think she's probably going to be stuck with just the Mandalorian, but you never know. Claire, what'd you think of the episode?
I am just like, I'm having a hard time talking about how awesome it really was, because it was just everything you love about the movies and everything you love about Clone Wars. Like it's hard because like there's so many of my casual Star Wars friends who are like, how do I get into the Clone Wars? Like, what is the vibe? What is the Clone Wars all about? What's the best part of the Clone Wars? And I just want to be like, this episode, but don't watch it. It's at the end, because it's just, it blends what, like the things we love about the movies, the music, just like the themes, all of it just feels right. You have R2-D2 sticking his little eye up. It's like, it's just, there's so much about this episode in particular that is, it hits home. It's just, it feels, it emotionally connects you with the movies and with everything we've gone through with Ahsoka. Not even in Clone Wars, we're tying in Solo, we're tying in Rebels and beyond. And it was so cool. And like even connecting her with the sequel trilogy, because when she lands on Mandalore, the beginning of Rey's theme is what plays. And it's just like, there's so many moments in this that it's just wild. I'm just like, oh my God, what am I watching?
I heard that at first. I had to do a double take, but absolutely, yeah. Rey's theme.
I didn't even realize Rey's
believe
theme.
It was like the first
Really?
couple notes, and I'm like, oh my God, that is genius.
Kind of
awesome.
Man, he played Yoda's theme. He played everybody's theme.
Yeah, Claire, I really get your hype. I do. I think when we finish this, I don't care how late it goes. I'm gonna watch the episode again when we're done.
Oh yeah, it's been on.
I don't care. I'm watching the episode.
This is gonna be one of those episodes that you keep revisiting, years later. Like I find myself watching season 4 and 5 arcs all the time, the Mortis arc all the time, This
Years
is going to be one of
later,
those arcs.
I'm gonna be watching this shit like every day. This is gonna be
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I'm not even gonna say how many times I watched it today.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious. How many times have you watched it today?
Probably 7 to 8.
Okay, yeah, we're on this. I think we're all there on the same.
I'm on vacation. Today's my last day of vacation, so I had the day off. But yeah, I watched a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Grievous, what did you think of this episode?
Well, I mean, I can echo everything that has been said so far, but I'm just blown away. Just especially at this time in the morning, just rethinking like, wow, just how fortunate we are to get something like this at this time. Just so happy. Just I can't be more happy than I'm right now. I mean, I'm still, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm riding the high of the Bad Batch arc and of, the appearances of Wat Tambor Trench, but seeing General Grievous in a newsreel and just looking so beautiful and epic and just referencing all those moments, it's just wow. And one thing, I mean, something that I think at least I could add to the whole overall discussion is that thankfully the newsreel was like old times. There were no overlaying like opacity things and weird transitions, which were a little messy in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't like those either.
No, they were. I was not a fan, and for some reason they did them for almost every episode, and like they overdid them. I don't want to complain. This episode is perfection, but from an editing, as a video editor, those edits were just mind-blowingly annoying to watch, especially because if you watch them, like, if you don't know what's happening, it's like, what? It's like, so I'm so happy that scenes from Order 66 were giving the proper editing respect that they deserved. Like seeing Plo Koon, Ayla, and then I have rewatched a dozen times that beautiful Yerbana battle. Oh, so happy to see that. Oh, it was beautiful. I loved it. And everything else afterwards was just over building the awesomeness. I hope that the sound is good on my end, but I don't want to, but it's just building awesomeness upon awesomeness, a giant layer cake of greatness. Just love it. Just love it so much.
Yeah, no, the first person I thought about when I saw Grievous was you. I was like, dude.
I need to read that. I saw that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
His eyes were so menacing, and his stance, he was so imposing, and I was like, I need that in my collection on my shelf. But I will never get a peaceful night's sleep again.
100%.
That's one of the things I was thinking while watching this episode. I'm like, we'll never get action figures of any of these characters.
Not unless you're Corey.
Like, we used to get all like battle packs and full line vehicles. It's like that just doesn't happen anymore.
Unless you make
We will get another stormtrooper in like purple or something.
Oh yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Doubt.
Right. I did love the way that it connected to the films with Plo Koon and Ayla appearing in it, but you mentioned before that like the Tide to Rebels. She uses the Fulcrum code name to send a message to Anakin. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And then the other thing that really got me, I mentioned like the whole scene where he introduces her to the, I don't know what they're called, the 501st and a half, I don't know.
330
But
30 seconds.
330 seconds.
He gives her back her lightsabers, changes the color of the blades to match his. Which was pretty cool. But then that last look between, I don't know if I'm using my hands, but between Ahsoka and Anakin, and we as the viewers know this is the last time they're going to see each other.
Yeah, and you could tell, you could almost tell that she knew something, maybe not that she knew that it was the last time, but she kind of took pause, like she felt something in the Force.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was the exact same shot we get at Twilight of the Apprentice over Anakin's shoulder. Ahsoka chilling over there, and you're like, oh god, it's happening again.
There were so many parallels in this entire episode, whether it's Anakin walking out onto the bridge like Luke on Krayt, or if it's when Ahsoka lands on board the Venator, and the whole sequence directly mirrors her landing on Christophsis in the Clone Wars movie. I mean, there are just so many incredible moments. Like the whole episode is just full of detail and references. And what's crazy is I think this might be one of the best examples of just a mountain load of references, but it's handled so naturally. And each one is weaved in so organically without throwing you off, without throwing the story off, without it being too much. It was impressive and it was just fantastic.
It doesn't feel like fan service at all.
Right.
It feels very natural, as you said.
I read an article somewhere a while ago where they said fan service done correctly is simply called payoff. And I think with this paid off in a lot of ways. Like those little moments that you guys picked up on, like the looks that were given and the little references to Order 66, because we know the saga, like we know it's coming, that all pays off for us. But for anyone else just watching, it's just good storytelling, and it helps move the plot along, and it just conveys emotion. So for the casual fans, it works, and then for the mega fans, it works on more layers. And I think The Mandalorian did that a lot. So you have to think like, what's the common denominator here? And it all like ladders up to Filoni, which is why I don't care whatever he does next, I'm in. As you can see, I've got the Rebels background behind me. This is peak Filoni, guys. Even though we're talking Clone Wars right now, like once you're done crying over this one, go watch some Twilight of the Apprentice and whatever
Thank
else.
you. Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so emotional. Oh my gosh.
I have to say, during this scene of Anakin giving Ahsoka her update,
Holy
That's great.
great. In the scene of Anakin giving Ahsoka her updated lightsabers, I love the callback to A New Hope's. You know, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Like,
also, can we just like agree that these are like, it's not just giving her new lightsabers, it's like the Jedi equivalent of a friendship bracelet. It's like, look, I made for you.
Yeah.
Like,
I had a question about this. Now, I
BFFs
usually know
forever.
my
Right.
BFFs. Oh, no, wait.
No, I usually know my canon stuff inside and out, but there are times where I can't find stuff. I know she left her lightsabers behind because when she left the Order, she was giving up all that stuff. Now, those crystals were hers and meant to be hers, but she decided not to take them. I'm guessing Anakin just held on to them, but he had to like reconstruct them to get, it's got to be a different crystal, because if she had a green crystal in the other one, where did other crystal come from? I've got some questions. And where's her green one? Because that is the one that like called to her. Am I imagining that?
and also the clear ones in Rebels.
No.
Yeah, it was definitely different crystals because
I've actually looked a lot. I've looked into crystal canon, and I think what happens is like the crystal kind of like reads the force of the user.
Right.
Of it.
The user.
And not like this is a green crystal and this is a blue crystal. It's more like this is a crystal and this person is blue on the inside.
So it's like
and
an aura, like one of
person
those
is
mood
green
rings.
on the
Like a mood ring, totally. Yeah.
But that's not 100% true though, because there are colored crystals and there are blue ones, there are green ones, there are red ones, there are yellow ones. So that's what makes this particular
And I know they all have
case,
different
I think, complicated.
meanings, too.
Yeah.
Like the green, you're supposed to be like a consular, like a diplomat. Blue is more a warrior.
So
And
I
then, you know,
think,
red,
there's
so-
also synthetic crystals. And I mean, this was a change that came in like a year or two ago when they finally established, I think with the Vader comics, exactly how the crystals sort of function
bleed,
now.
Bleed the crystal.
Yeah, exactly. When they did the bleeding, and obviously,
crystal in through like a dark side ritual. And
Right,
then you get the white crystal when you unbleed it, like Ahsoka did in the book.
So they're going to red.
Also,
bleeding to
Ahsoka
red makes
left
sense.
her.
But and the white I remember from the book, but it's this blue-green discrepancy that I think needs some clarification.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's anyone out there in the ether. You know,
It almost looked like they were doing
Star
some kind of an inside joke when they were looking at each other. Like, you know, I made some improvements, and she's like, yeah, they're blue, ha ha ha. Because his was blue.
That's exactly what I think he
the way I
did.
read
It's Anakin's, you know, his humor that he always uses with Ahsoka.
But
and
even more heart-wrenching about it, Mark, was that she lost the Shoto in the Jedi, the wrong Jedi, or
when she was running, right?
So he had to go look for it. He literally had to go look for it down in the down in those wherever he was.
I think she lost
He
both
sent
of them.
Commander Fox.
Yeah.
You can watch the episode. Both of them went over the railing at one time or another. I
Yes.
think first she lost her one.
Totally. He found them, rebuilt them, he tuned them up, fine-tuned them. They probably keyed into his color, and that was probably the better that he was talking about. You know, he just took care of them, and maybe they evolved on their own. You know,
and just to add some salt to the wound on this, she's going to lose them again, because we know for a fact in the Ahsoka novel she doesn't have them. She has to steal them back from the Inquisitor, and to your point you were saying earlier, unbleed them from red to white. So this particular set of sabers, if it's the same ones, go from Anakin to Ahsoka. Ahsoka somehow loses them again. Maybe Maul gets them. I don't know.
I think they end up on a fake grave, don't they?
Yeah,
is that where they are?
Ahsoka buries them in the book.
Okay, and I was even saying I need to reread the Ahsoka novel. So there we go.
Yeah.
That explains
I
it.
don't think anything with the Ahsoka novel is really gonna come true. The whole origin of Fulcrum is explored in that novel too, and it's completely different from what they just did in this episode. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't think the Ahsoka novel is relevant anymore, because there's not only that, but in the novel itself, she still has the green sabers.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say the exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
someone's gonna have to fill in these gaps. We need, we're gonna need to do an investigative report.
8-line Star Wars edition.
Anymore.
We can set up an Excel sheet for Dave. Somebody can go through the Ahsoka novel and just be like, this is what's in the book. This is what you did. Here's where you guys need to find common ground.
Yeah.
You can buy a Legends sticker that you can stick across the top of the cover now.
Well, we may be running into that with, the whole, with Rex, the commander and the whole captain commander, you don't really hear them call him commander in Rebels.
In Rebels, no. Yeah.
And then the biggest one, with the whole, he's Nick Sant now, what if he knows about Skywalker? He would be one of the people that knows, that Skywalker was his father, unless Rex doesn't know that Vader was Skywalker. Maybe it was just a kind of thing on Twilight of the Apprentice. You know what I'm saying? Kind of, there's that mystery there.
Know that Anakin had kids, or did he just know that he was in a relationship with Padme? Like, how far into their relationship did Rex get involved? He might have not even known that Padme was pregnant.
Yeah, he probably didn't. I mean, but that's a good point to raise, because we don't really know how deep that secrecy went with Rex. I mean, obviously he knows about Anakin and Padme, but how much more? So what we're going to do now is I want to go through everyone real quick, and everybody say your favorite moments from this episode. That way we have an idea. So favorite moment. One favorite moment out of the whole episode. You got to select one.
That's so hard.
So we're going to go from the bottom to the top. So Dan Grievous, sir, what was your favorite moment in this episode?
Oh my goodness, this is a very hard question to answer, but the one I think I have to, the obvious one would be Grievous. That is just, I said maybe months ago, I'm not sure, but I have to double check. But I said to friends of mine, if we see a Grievous cameo, even for a second, we see this magnificent creature on screen, I would be immensely happy. And we got it. But the scene, the moment that actually just was the mention of Shakti protecting the Chancellor.
Oh, yes.
Giving recognition of the final moments from the previous Clone Wars series.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Just, I had to bring it up. Just like, it's like, wow.
I would have to agree with you. I was thinking that too, because in the micro series, they had a whole storyline about that.
Yeah.
And it if you looked at it back then, it led directly into Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Corey and I were just talking about this after hearing that. It's like, I hope that in our head canons now, I think some version of that sequence is canon. Grievous is probably not as terrifying as he was in the 2003 series now in canon, but I like to think of the subway trams, the hammerhead and him holding back Grievous and the super battle droids and Magna Guards and just some version of all those sequences, or when they were using the Force on the sides of the walls and Grievous was crawling along the walls, some version of that sequence is canon. And
Has General Grievous had his cough throughout the Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Or could we see Mace Windu do that attack that he did in the Gandhi series?
Grievous had the cough from day one.
Yeah,
Already
okay.
from Malevolence, he was like, sorry,
Right. Yeah, I mean, that kind of raises the question, though, just bring it up real quick, is are we going to see any of that? Are we going to see any of Palpatine? Because my initial prediction last week was we would see Palpatine in this episode. So the fact that we didn't leads me to believe that we're not.
No, I was right. We were going to get him.
Coughing because he has coronavirus.
Well, I think
Wow.
it's a bit complicated unless they decide to bring back, Tim Curry and voice him again. I don't know. I mean, it has either they use Tim Curry or just have archive footage from Revenge of the Sith, because this
I'd rather them just use Sam again, like they did in Rebels.
Guys,
I wasn't
Ian
that
McDermott
crazy about
just
the
came
Tim
back for
Curry.
F9. Like, I don't see
Right,
why he
Ian
wouldn't do it for
McDermott,
the
yeah.
Clone Wars too. Yeah,
No doubt. All right, Claire, favorite moment for you?
I'm kind of a masochist, so I'd probably say my favorite moment was the goodbye. When the alarms start blaring, and I realize, oh crap, we're going into Revenge of the Sith right now. It's happening. This is when we are. Okay, all right. So first of all, I didn't realize that we would already be that close to Revenge of the Sith, and that we'd be going to rescue the Chancellor, and that overwhelmed me a little bit. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. This is what I have to wrap my brain around emotionally. And that final goodbye, because I hate myself. An honorable mention, when Gar Saxon, when you see him without his helmet because he is a G.I. Joe, and I was like, that is fantastic animation. Why do Mandalorians, why did they ever adopt the idea later that you can never take off your helmet? Because then we would have never seen Gar Saxon's face. So
we shall see.
Gar Saxon, I was not expecting to see. Yeah, I was not expecting to see his face at all in this episode.
And for him to be a total animated beefcake.
Oh, Claire has a crush on Gar Saxon.
Do you not, Dan?
Well, okay, fine.
Saxon,
yes, okay, yes. Fine. Let's create the What was that movement about Callus and his hair? Let's move have
hot
a Callus.
Yes, so let's have a hot Saxon movement.
Yes, please. It's so true, though. So
and
true.
have Claire be Leah leader.
I will carry the burden with dignity and respect. I will do my best.
His armor was also fantastic. I mean, every shot we got of him fighting, I'm like, dude, that might be the coolest Mandalorian armor. I got to be honest. That is the best.
And also Rook Cast and the rest of them, all the female Maul loyalists. I mean, all of the new armor that they brought to it. I was just in awe of just looking at all the Mandalorians now. I mean, especially Gar Saxon, who just looks like a monster in this armor.
Yeah.
And how on earth are we going to fall? How do we go from this point to where we are in the Mandalorian? This is just, I can't wait to see and find out more of how we get there. It's just, oh my God.
I would say a lot of it probably had to do with the Empire, because, Moff Gideon was bringing up things about, the Night of 1,000 Tears, and, a bunch of Mandalorian cadets just got massacred. And, I think the Empire probably had a lot to do with Mandalorians just totally disappearing off the face of the galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
And as I said, I'm a masochist, so I want to see it. That sounds terrible.
I do too. I mean,
okay,
isn't being a masochist criteria that is basically integral to a Star Wars fan? I mean, I love Tinker from Newt Gunray, but I want to see the massacre on Mustafar Clone Wars animation. So.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see Anakin get his limbs cut off in animated style. I'm not gonna lie. I want to see that duel in animation.
Or at least a glimpse of it.
A glimpse of it. No, exactly. Yeah. So, Ross, favorite moment?
Man, for me, I thought this would be more difficult to answer, but it definitely had to be just the entire sequence, going through the hallway, going into the hangar, the Ahsoka tribute scene, the discussion with Obi-Wan and
Sequence,
then Anakin's,
sequence, Ross, not the whole episode.
just that one sequence. But then as it concludes with Anakin walking away. But to me, that's what really got me. And I don't know, I told you guys earlier that I had coffee like 20 minutes before at like 2:40 a.m. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning I'm watching this. And I mean, it takes a lot to get me to tear up. I don't cry at all during any movies or shows, really. But this brought me so close. And because it started to set in for me that throughout that whole sequence, this is it. This is the last time Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Rex, the clones are all together. And it was handled so well. Every second of it, the tribute, the conversation with Obi-Wan, the lightsabers, the sound those lightsabers made, the last look at Anakin, every second of that portion of the episode was just, like Mark said earlier, payoff. It was the exact scene that I think, we were looking for.
Dude, you're making me cry just describe it. Like, just thinking about it, I just feel like crying.
Worthy of a cry. That's what I said earlier. Worthy of a cry.
Genuinely is. Chad, what was your favorite moment in this episode?
After she got done tearing up Obi-Wan and talking to Anakin, it was when she jumped out of that gunship. She emphasized what a Jedi really is supposed to be, a hero. She was amazing. And I'm just like sitting there going, oh my gosh, look at her go. She saved the guy, she saved the pilot, she's just tearing people up, and she was just heroic, and it was amazing. And you see that scene that we saw from Celebration with the poster, and it was touching, very touching. So when she jumped out of the gunship, for sure, because it emphasized what a Jedi really should be. Selfless, I'm going to help these people that I care about. Boom, I'm going to dominate. She was amazing.
I think mine was Rex's reaction to her jumping out.
Yeah, he laughed, right?
He laughed. He was like, this is great.
Yeah,
Rex was us.
And when they land and she says, beat you, some things never change. I mean, pure Clone Wars magic. That is what the entire landing sequence was. Just pure magic.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna jump in real quick since you just mentioned that. That was my favorite moment, was Ahsoka saying that to Rex. There was something so pure about that one moment, and which makes me so sad about what's
I really love their relationship.
Exactly. I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, so many things are about to change.
Yeah,
no.
his chip isn't out.
Oh God.
It's brutal. But yeah, I mean, it's that, and then I agree, the Anakin and Ahsoka dialogue before, the way she looks at him as he's leaving, it's like she knows that something's off but doesn't quite know what it is. And it's crazy to me watching this episode thinking, dude, this dude's like about to snap in like a couple days. He's gone.
He looks so happy right then and there too.
He does.
And it's funny you
he
say
looks
that,
like he's a kid that came out of the candy store.
Yeah. And this conversation with Ahsoka, I think, really captures his reasoning. Ahsoka is such a huge part of him, and watching her openly question the Jedi and all of the doubts in the back of his mind, that's just another
layer,
nail in the coffin there of him being like, oh yeah, this is the Jedi are wrong. Ahsoka saw it. Why didn't anybody else see it?
Right. No, 100%. I think that final conversation between them is going to hit him hard throughout the next couple of days for him. And then, I wouldn't be surprised if someone tells him that Ahsoka died on Mandalore just to screw with him even more.
Why do you say things like this?
Speaking of Ahsoka dying, though, like, imagine if, and I mean, imagine if Rebels happened after this, and we were getting this arc, this freaking ride.
Without
knowing what happens to Ahsoka, Maul, Rex, Bo. Imagine all of this plus that uncertainty.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
It would be a whole new level of tension. Yeah, no, I don't think we'd make it through the first episode. But Brian, what was your favorite moment?
I think it was Rex laughing as Ahsoka jumped out of the gunship. Close second. was probably when she spent that time reprimanding Anakin and Obi-Wan, just showing that she was differentiating herself from being a Jedi and still like being firm and drawing that line and like, hey, business, this is business. We'll get into personal later, but right now you have to respect me because I'm here on business.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's I like the serious tone of Ahsoka throughout episode 2, where she realizes that, well, and also she doesn't want to get hurt. And I think that was a really important thing to establish in the episode. Is she just got majorly hurt by the Jedi, and she doesn't want to go back into that. And that's why I think she's being so, stubborn with everything at first until she's
very formal.
Very exactly. But Mark, I'm pretty sure I know what your favorite moment's going to be.
Yeah, it's Ahsoka with a 501st. That really hit on all the emotion that we've been building to. And I will, just to build on what a few people were saying earlier, Ahsoka really has matured, and you could see a marked difference even in the voice acting between this arc and what was done in just the prior 4 episodes, to let you know that like time has passed. And her questioning of the Jedi and her little like throwdown with Obi-Wan, I had to pause the TV. I was like, oh girl, like this is serious. It was definitely a moment, and one that I thought was well deserved, because she never really got to say her piece to them about like, screw you guys, like you guys left me out to dry, you didn't help enough. Like Anakin did what he could behind the scenes, but like I'd be super pissed at Obi-Wan. Like he never really apologized. Everyone is just like, oh, things are fine, and and maybe we'll help you on this thing.
How he was in Phantom Menace though with Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon used to try to like do things that would go against the council, and he would be like, "Oh, Qui-Gon, you could really upset the council," and Qui-Gon be like, "Yeah, whatever, dude." But that's something that's been ingrained in Obi-Wan from youth. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with trying to maintain his diplomacy status so he can stay close to Satine in some way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was always a lawful good, was always Obi-Wan. And then Anakin was chaotic good, as was Ahsoka. And then he eventually becomes, I think more of like a chaotic evil. I don't know, like if he's actually chaotic evil, but he's certainly, and he's choking out generals, why not? But like, yeah, you could see that conflict play out. So I loved that whole interaction of the 3 of them. And then the presentation of the lightsabers, that whole sequence. So it's less of a moment and more of like a portion of the episode, but the whole thing was great. Like this was what we've been waiting for. It's why this podcast is happening, right? Like we've been counting down for 8 episodes, and here we are.
It was just cool seeing how many characters in the show loved Ahsoka.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Jesse, what was your favorite moment?
Same as a lot of other people. It's the Ahsoka saying to Rex, chase you to the bottom, race you to the bottom, to the surface there, and just that whole sequence for jumping from ship to ship, and just visually it was incredible, and her landing at the end, and I just like the banter between Ahsoka and Rex, like he's sort of saying, where he says right at the start where she's about to jump, and he says, "Oh, we didn't bring you a jetpack," and she says, "I don't need one," and just watching her jump down from ship to ship is just so good.
Jesse, are you getting worried about ARC Trooper Jesse's fate? I mean, we're 3 episodes are left.
I thought he's in the clear because wasn't the Ahsoka hanging over the guy with the real visor helmet?
Vaughn.
I don't think he's in the clear.
No, he's not in the clear because his ass is.
I thought that was the scene that they took it from.
That's not how that should have sounded.
No. The thing is, like, he has a point because the scene where Ahsoka's holding his hand is actually his hand. The trooper that you fought was gonna be Echo, who is actually Vaughn, and thankfully Jesse is still alive. So hopefully he makes it out.
For now.
Unfortunately, he's gonna do
for now. Exactly.
Yes. He dodged the bullet today.
Vaughn, that was like the first time I've seen Cody's armor reused on a different clone.
Yeah.
Well, it has happened with Doom
earlier. Like no clones have ever. Cody's armor was always unique, I thought.
Yeah. Well, there have always been like accessories from Cody, like the sun visor and the rangefinder, the jetpack. You'll see pieces of it, but Vaughn had like the complete set.
Yeah, the complete. It
was died. Like I cried, even though like we just met him today. Like
it was an emotional death.
He had a cool armor though.
Yeah.
Bro. I like not much made me cry, and like everybody's like, oh, this made me cry and this made me cry, and I was like, yeah, I felt the emotion of like that moment. It was pretty great. But
We were
when Vaughn
perma-grading at
died, like
home.
even though I don't even know him or anything about him, I still cried when he died, but not for anything else. Guess that's how I work.
It was definitely more emotional than Cut Up's death in Rookies, a clone who we've been following for a while. So yeah,
Poor Cut Up. Poor Cut Up.
Dude. Cut Up got done
Like
dirty.
that's an improvement in writing. You know, we go from Rishi Eel like bites Cut Up, he gone, wig snatch, and then we move. You know, Vaughn, who's dying, he's like, I'm sorry, Commander, and then he dies in her arms. Like that's the improvement in writing we're seeing. You know?
Phenomenal. Yeah.
And also her in the
gotten
beginning of
better
the episode insisting not to be called Commander, and then having to hear that from one of her clones like that. That's what got me.
No problem, Commander.
I think her just being back in it too, especially after all the time that's passed since she left the Jedi Order and has kind of realized the flaws of the Jedi and the Republic and this entire war, and she's back in this, watching good men who believe in her die in her arms and all around her yet again for needless conflict. And I think
wait till they all turn on her and they all start running out of trying to kill her with their face face on their
God.
helmets.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
God.
And that's gonna mess us up.
Imagine how hard this is for her.
Everything.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order on steroids.
Dan Curto, what was the moment for you?
Well, I mean, I said it in when I started talking, is the scene with the 501st and the whole Anakin, that whole dialogue where she's getting her gifts back. But I was just saying before, imagine how hard this is for Ahsoka to come back to the Jedi, right? She left on purpose. There's a very good reason. This is her family. This is the only family she's ever known, and she left, ostracized, the black sheep of the family, left to forge her own path, and now it's coming back home again. And you know, she's very standoffish in the very beginning. She's like, I don't know, nope, I'm not a Jedi, I'm not this and that. But then to be welcomed back by the clones. Okay.
Yeah.
That to me, that was the most touching. I mentioned that in the beginning. And just seeing how she has come into her own from the very beginning. Think back, the very first time we ever met her, unsure of herself, not really know. Now she's the star, man. She knows everything. She's totally in tune with her powers and what she's doing, and everybody is following her because they know her and they respect her and they support her. So for her to come back not knowing how she's going to be accepted and then to be accepted, she's got to feel really good about things right now, you know? And it's just, that was part of the emotional for me. You know, it's sort of like I have kids, they've all grown and moved out, but to have them come back would be like, that'd be cool, you know? So here's Ahsoka, if you follow the analogy, my surrogate daughter, like coming back home, even for a little while. And then you see that last scene with her and Anakin, like, again, you know, because we saw Rebels and we saw Sith, they're never going to see each other as these characters.
Oh,
yeah. So that's hard.
Fact.
I mean, to be even more heartbreaking, it was like, you know, also the other side of that coin, watching the tribute sequence is just like, it's not just the last time for those characters, it's the last time for us. Obviously, we can go back and rewatch the series, sure, and we have, but it's like, damn, no, this is really it.
Yeah, but this whole sequence of the 501st was basically like a lot of other dialogue, like with the Marta's sister arc dialogue, like, oh no, that thing is irrelevant. Like all those quotes, and especially this moment was so meta because, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I see us as the 501st, and Ahsoka is the symbolization of the Clone Wars, because yes, loyalty means everything to the fans, and that's why, like, I just felt that this scene was so perfectly done, and just because like they were like saluting her, and just felt like we were the 501st. We were like, especially Rex on the gunship, like you guys mentioned earlier. He was like, "That's us!" Like, it's like, and
the camaraderie between those two characters specifically is something that didn't really expect to be that emotional.
Yeah.
You know, because Rex is not an emotional guy.
No.
But he has respect for her. You know.
Yeah. I think he's about to be an emotional wreck pretty soon. But Eric, what's your favorite moment?
Too, I wanted to go out and like buy the Ahsoka clone trooper action figures. I'm like, I must have that. And it's just we're not gonna. It's so easy, man. They could make all the Mandalorians. They could make all the clones. Just repaint what exists already. And
dude,
we're just
Gar Saxon. Just Gar Saxon would be the best figure of 2020 if Hasbro.
Yes, Gar Saxon.
Give him that 5 o'clock shadow.
Dan, I knew I liked you.
Yeah, curl in the hair.
Oh my god.
I mean, thankfully, already people from the customizing community are on that. I think Watto's Scrapyard already made the head. I think he already did it for Rookcast also.
And this is the beautiful world we live in. It really is.
Don't you want those action figures in the animated style, not in the realistic vintage collection?
I don't like that realistic vintage idea. It's terrible.
Whatever they're doing with Galaxy Event. No, I want it in the 3 3/4 inch animated style.
Right. Yep.
That was the
Same
line
here
for this show.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was their most popular selling toy line. I don't know why they don't go back to it.
Here's the clone that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Nope, this background is not supporting it. Never mind.
Not working.
Noble effort.
Putting the hand in front of it actually makes it worse.
Just try screen sharing.
Let me see if, let me. All right, let's try this.
Try to
So
screen
this.
share a picture of it.
Oh my.
I should. Oh my God, this background. There we go. I think now I'm getting it.
Don't move. Just leave it. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Oh no. Okay. It went. All right.
Nice.
I mean, it's beautiful. I've seen the pictures. Like Hasbro can do that and just sell them out like that.
Dude, Hasbro's too busy making the freaking Silver Stormtrooper. Get used to it. That's what we're getting. That's it. So,
and the retro collection that they got, which is
don't even get it.
Sorry, I don't want to be negative. I mean, this episode is so much awesomeness and positivity, but talking about
there we go.
Because
thank you, Ross. Perfect.
I made them, so I have this picture.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. There's always time to do those figures for people who want them, for customizers. We're all doing crazy stuff. I mean, I got a whole list for you, Corey. You're lucky enough, and there's other people lucky enough that are going to get that stuff. But I think we can have a toy talk that'll go into many hours of why they're not doing it. They're just trying to focus on that 60. They're just afraid of 3 3/4 inch. It's too much of a risk for them.
Yeah, Hasbro is not what they used to be. That's for sure.
They lost their way.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Sorry.
Yep.
I also liked. I mean, just to bring it back to the show for a second, I really liked the sort of they're hunting down the clones in the tunnels underneath Mandalore.
Yeah.
And you didn't really see a lot of what was happening, but you could almost feel every death that happened just from the sound. It's like, oh my God, there's something going on.
Oh yeah, the sound of Maul walking in that tunnel.
Oh, that was great.
Like out of a horror movie.
Like he's menacing.
His little metal feet, and imagining his little toes from Solo clinking on the. Oh,
one thing that I loved throughout the whole episode was that you felt how high the stakes were. I don't know if it was me just at 3 o'clock in the morning, but starting that episode and then ending it. Like every single scene, I was on the edge of my seat, and it felt like the stakes. This is the end. This is the war. It's almost like the climax of the war movie. Totally. Like the final war, the war sequence in Saving Private Ryan. Like it almost felt like that kind of intensity, and that's what I loved. I mean, I know Corey tried to get me in. My favorite scene has been mentioned by all of you guys, so I'll just be different and say the opening scene because that was just peak Star Wars. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and as I mentioned earlier, one of the first things I said, all the callbacks and the beats to The Last Jedi and Return of the Jedi, and it was just great. You know, it really is one of those perfect episodes. And
There's so many, like,
we're gonna get
curves.
3 more of those. Like,
Right.
there's no going down
uses
from
of those
this. It's
tracks.
only going up. You know, so
100%. So the episode descriptions for the last 2 episodes have been released. Now, I don't is everyone okay with me reading those, or is this something I should not read?
I got them earlier in the day from Rory
I haven't read
Williamson.
them yet, so
read them.
Is there anyone who doesn't want to know anything? It's not really. Is
I
everyone
didn't
okay?
want to read them, but I already read them.
As
and I
someone who's
shouldn't
already
have.
read them, they are extremely spoilery.
No, there is something I'm gonna cut out. I will cut out something from
episode 11,
the 3rd one. I'm
Yeah.
only gonna mention one thing that happens in it, which is pretty much everything we've kind of guessed at this point.
okay. Are there heavy spoilers?
There's major spoilers.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Rory can't even read it.
Is it called I Got 66 Problems and a Jedi's Not One?
It's possible. That's
Qui-Gon's
possible.
funeral? Because that would be bad.
Oh my.
The Jedi's noble end.
Oh god.
The death of Qui-Gon Jinn. The death of Qui-Gon Jinn. No, not that.
Well, it tells you the outcome of the fight between Ahsoka and Maul.
Mm-hmm.
But we already know that from the novel.
And we've seen the trailers. I mean, like,
read it.
I won't read it just because I won't. I don't need to. Yeah, I won't.
Just thinking about that fight scene coming up.
You're gonna have to read them to me later, and just
I will when we're off
me.
air. I'll read them.
Yeah, they're not like too spoilery, but there is one piece in there that's like, oh, that's how that. Oh,
yeah, it's enough. Yeah,
that first sentence of the opening.
Yeah, if it was like anything like last week, you know, I was saying, you know, Maul is going to change his mind and he's going to go, I'm just going to tell her everything. And maybe he's going to tempt her, you know, he's going to hold his hand out, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, is that where it's going? You know, he's going to.
I can't say.
That's where I think. You know, I think he's going to tell her, he's going to do something new and different. He's going to go, let's just get him together. Let's get this guy together. You know, and she goes, no.
So we gave predictions last Friday. Chad, myself, Ross, Mark, Elias, Brian, Eric. So for those of you guys who were not here last week, Dan, what are your predictions for there's 2 Dans. So Claire. We'll start with Claire. That's how it's gonna be now. What are your predictions for the next 3 episodes?
Oh, I'm a little bit overwhelmed because my expectations are so high, but my creativity and storytelling ability is so low. I am not a creative writer. I just, that's not my forte. But the one thing that I feel pretty confident in is Ahsoka is in this on her own. And I don't know how exactly she's going to get out of this, in a sense. This is the first time, I believe, she's ever faced him on her own. And usually when someone goes up against Maul, you have at least one other Jedi with you who has your back. So however this is going to happen, I cannot wait to sit back and watch and eat popcorn, because we've seen in this episode, just in that landing sequence alone, she's an incredible force to be reckoned with, and it's going to be like Clash of the Titans. And I can't wait to see exactly how the rest of Maul's cronies are involved and how Bo continues to mess stuff up. I don't know. I just think that the only one thing that I am pretty confident in predicting, since I cry at like literally everything, like the puppy dog on the street that's like doing a trick, I'll cry at that. So I know that I am going to very confidently be watching this alone and not doing any reaction videos, because it's just going to be phlegm and tears and just it's not going to be cute, whatever it is. So.
Corey knows this better than anybody, but I cry all the time for movies and TV. So tears were shed last night.
Man. It's worthy of a cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go.
It's a worthy cry, but is it a pretty one?
I can
No.
assure Corey it
doesn't just cry.
Corey, it was not Endgame level crying. It was tearing. But
yeah,
Corey,
Eric came to see Endgame with me, and I didn't think he'd make it. I mean, he was this kid. You were gonna die. I mean, we walked out of the theater, and you were stumbling. You felt like passing out. You used a whole box of tissues, dude. It was bad.
Yeah,
like I didn't think you'd make it out. So I think Clone Wars will destroy all of us.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I do have to say, I also have to step away. I do have to bow out a little bit early, gang.
No worries. No worries. I just realized it's 10:12.
It's all good.
Feels like we just started this because it's such a good discussion. But
blink and the time has flown.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. You're more than welcome to join us for the next 3 episodes of this awesome arc. So.
I mean, I'm clearly going to have a lot of feelings that I need to vent about. So yes, count me in.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. So we will see you next week then.
All right. See you then, gang.
Take care.
See ya.
All right, Jesse, what was the question I was going to ask? Oh yeah, your predictions for the next 3 episodes.
I actually decided with this arc that I wasn't going to try and give myself any predictions.
Okay.
Star Wars fans and expectations don't really have a good track record, so I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go for the ride and just take it with each episode, and just take the ride as it comes.
That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to stay away from predictions because I feel like they're gonna make me set expectations, and expectations are ugly. Force Awakens proved that to me. We're not gonna worry about that. But you know, I could predict in this case maybe with our Order 66 montage that we're gonna see the same one retold, because as you mentioned earlier, they reconstructed all the assets of the old Jedi.
Yep.
Which, it is what it is. I would have preferred to see all new Jedi and see something completely different, but they redid all the assets. They did some house cleaning, so I guess they're gonna just redo it. I'd prefer to see something new. Corey, as you said, I really kind of hope that they just made those new assets for nothing, and that we're
no. I think they made them for nothing, because if Grievous is an indication. Unless they decide to show Utapau or Mustafar or anything else, Grievous is not going to show up in this arc anymore. I would be sad, but I think all those assets were rebuilt so they could match the quality that has been present for the last 8 episodes. So I think that they're not going to play any part.
Yeah, I think you have the Ki-Adi-Mundi. You have Depa Billaba, you have Caleb in there, and also Bakara. And I mean, at first I thought the same, that the holotable in that entire sequence was just going to be exclusively for that scene in whatever episode that winds up being. But I think what would be really cool is if you get additional context scenes, like what we just got in that intro, with Ayla and Bly and Plo leaving for Kato Nemoidy, or just deploying out of the Venator. You get to see more of the moments just before, and I think that would be really cool. And you also, and like in terms of other predictions that we had last week, I know we brought up Moff Gideon, and I personally brought up the idea that it would be really cool to have Moff Gideon as an admiral for the Republic, kind of like in Yularen's shoes, but for the Siege of Mandalore, so you get that direct connection that. During his time in the Republic, he became very familiar with the Mandalorians, and so when the time came after Rebels, he knew how to lay waste to them and take them out once and for all. But he's not in there, and I had a feeling that was wishful thinking, because it was probably too late in the game to include him. But one thing that I think did come true is definitely those additional Order 66 context scenes, and it's pretty cool to see.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, especially because we have Caleb and Deppa. I mean, like you've said, like there could be a montage of all the 66 scenes, and I hope there is. I mean, I like they have set up all these assets because they might not use them because the Clone Wars has proven that they would create things if they have the budget, and they will not use them. Like I don't want to break them up, but Theo Bibble from Crisis on Naboo, like he was just made to be there. He didn't say a line. So in my opinion, we might not see that, but I would love if we see Kalera and see like Order 66 and like Caleb's reaction in animated form because the comic did it so well. But I think animated version with some Kevin kind of version of Order 66, maybe I would be just really overjoyed by that. But again, I hope I'm wrong, but like a few days ago, I predicted that Cajun and Mordia would not be the planet that was in the beginning because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that business on Cajun Mordia doesn't count." No,
that sucks though.
Yeah, it was like so perfect.
It was so perfect too because it's like you could just say that Anakin and Obi-Wan and the 501st 212 they're on Cajun Mordia. They get called away because of the Ahsoka Siege of Mandalore, Chancellor Palpatine, kidnapping conflict. They have to leave for Coruscant. She goes to Mandalore. Then Plo Koon takes over for Anakin and Obi-Wan. I mean, that to me seems like an incredibly natural addition to the canon that was right there. They did the bridge world. They did the whole thing. So
yeah, but again, the whole thing is that they made a bridge world, but it wasn't like, it's not like, okay, just not to toot my own horn, but at least from what I can tell, that's not a bridge the Neimoidians would build.
Right.
They would put on gold crap. They would put on jewels. Like imagine yourself, you're Newt Gunray, and you want to walk down this bridge. Unless it's a service bridge just for droids who don't give two Wampa rats for what looks around them, like what is the decor. Unless that's the case, I mean, this bridge was not an Neimoidian one. So, but again, this prediction and the one about Mark Krim being the villain, like, because everybody was wondering who were the Pikes, and I just predicted it. So if I'm right, I don't know. It's like I don't want to like you said, predictions and Star Wars fans don't mix, and expectations like don't mix very well, especially in the last several years. But at least I've said it before. Clone Wars brings out the best in fans. And I think if something were to happen that we predict, it will not be bad if it happens. But again, the Ahsoka novel has happened and a lot of things have already happened. So,
you know, we said that at the end of last week, like, you know, expectations are pretty important because, you know, we're giving our wish list, right? This is what we want to have happen. Moff Gideon.
Yeah, we gave a pretty big one last week.
It's a wish list. It's just here are things that we think are likely to happen, and keeping your expectations in line, I think, is really important. What's wild though is this episode still managed to do 95% of our predictions, what we were hoping for, what we were looking for, and it was just insane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, did you guys predict? I didn't think you guys predicted the whole Almec fighting back because that was
definitely not.
We predicted that he would be in it. Gar Saxon and Rook. We predicted those three people would be in it, but we didn't.
I remember you guys said that they were gonna be in it, but I was not expecting for him, that elderly man, to fight back Bo-Katan. That was like, what?
Yeah.
What? Almec, is that you?
Right.
Must be all that tea he drinks. Tea, right?
Maybe his days in prison, he must have learned a few tricks or two in fighting with his stay in prison.
Oh yeah.
He's a man.
Maul hooked him up with a personal trainer,
especially being the pretty boy minister.
When me and Ross watched the Lawless before this episode, and I said to him, I'm like, you know what? If Almec's in it, just be done with him. Maul just slice him up. And then he comes out with this Mandalorian outfit. Yeah. He's got this epic helmet on. He's kicking ass. I'm like,
his armor was cool.
His armor was awesome. Yeah, I mean, imagine if Hasbro made a figure of that, huh?
That paint apps would bankrupt him.
Yep, it really would.
Yeah.
El Presidente Almec.
Yeah, he had the rope going on the side there, the rope.
Yeah.
I forget what that's called, but it's some kind of honor
the
or something
braid.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright,
he's
guys,
he's an old school Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like he would have been part of the group that was not a pacifist like Satine.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
no
yeah.
surprise to me. He's just a veteran. He's just older. But yeah, I loved his little fight with Katie, and when she shot like just off to the side of him, I really thought she was gonna kill him. I was like, oh, that's the end of him. But maybe he's more valuable alive at the moment.
It was funny that he considered her, he referred to her, you're not a politician like your sister. It's like, Bo-Katan is nowhere near a politician. Like, she's here to assassinate you.
Yeah.
I thought that's what she was gonna do, like right there, just in the chase. We're back to Raw Clone Wars, just dead.
Yeah, Ross, I had the exact same thought.
Yeah, Katie brought it, man. She really brought it. She brought a lot of the emotion, a lot of it, you could hear it in her voice, the way she acted it out, she was in trouble, like she really needed these people, and she was getting upset and she was getting frustrated, and she was amazing. She's got to win an award for that. I mean, it was really great. It was really great.
No, I think that, like you guys were saying earlier, the acting was so phenomenal in this episode. It was the production value on this. So a Clone Wars episode typically costs about $1 million to $1.5 million to make. I'm saying each of these episodes are probably $5 million.
Yeah.
The way that it looks, the way that the act,
especially
this is
with
different.
The next one coming up with the Maul versus Ahsoka fight.
Right,
and it's gonna be bitching, but it's gonna cost like $5 million because of the mocap stuff. But it's, I mean,
well, actually, I don't know if you guys saw, but the mocap is not actually going to be used. Keith Kellogg came out with an interview recently where he said that they're instead going to be using it as reference. So when we see Maul fight, it's them animating what they're looking at. So it's not a one-to-one Ray Park. Actually, it's they're looking at it, and
so they just didn't. They could have just had him like do it in a shorts and t-shirt,
Well, what they said was it something looked off when doing motion capture with the show, like it just didn't fit the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
I just pictured Maul, and it just Ray Park. Only the makeup and the horns, not even the messed up teeth, like full bright white smile doing the mocap.
Oh, didn't we all pretty much witness his training on Instagram? Like we've probably seen most of those moves because he wasn't as secretive as we thought. Like I assume that a lot of what he was practicing, it makes it into that final fight. I wish I had I known at the time, I was like, oh, he's doing a lot of lightsaber twirling, whatever. Had I known at the time, we could have saved these videos, and someone smart out there has done that, and we can match it up against the final animation.
Yeah, 100%. So in terms of next week's episode, I'm going to go through everybody again and predictions for next Friday's episode. So we're going to go, we'll start from Eric down. So Eric, what do you think is going to happen next week?
I mean, as far as predictions go, you can't really predict where this is going at this point. I'm just, after today's episode, it's just excitement. We are at top tier Clone Wars. This is the best Clone Wars has ever been. So what is next week going to bring? And how is it going to be even better? We know it's not going to be impossible. So knowing that, this isn't a spoiler, knowing that next week is that Big Maul versus Ahsoka fight is incredibly exciting. It's going to be a long week anticipating it because, at this point, I'm just looking forward to that for this week. Get through everything else. I know Clone Wars is right there, 3:00 in the morning next Friday. But I'm just looking to see where it goes, I guess. Looking to cry a little bit more. I think that's always good. I'm just really, really excited.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, next week is going to be the Ahsoka Maul fight, which I mean, they keep saying it's the best of the show. So, holy crap! I mean, I definitely will take that over a 3-second fight. But anyways, so Dan, what did you think about
Seven Samurai?
Kurosawa.
I can't wait for that moment when they are in that throne room and they're like, all right, boys, the fight has begun in our minds. Adjust the footing. Here we go. Kurosawa, are you prepared? Seventh Samurai. We're doing this. Did you want to watch Star Wars? Too bad.
It's funny because I think all of us here are divided on that one fight, which we won't bring up.
I know this pissed off a few thousand people. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, what do you think is going to happen next week, buddy?
Which Dan?
Oh, dude, it is just, it's killing me. So since I said two Dans, Jesse, what do you think is going to happen?
Well,
I know you're not giving predictions.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my zero prediction rule, but
my bad.
I am just, what I'm glad is that I don't have to get up at a stupid hour of the morning like you lot do, because it's at 6:30 p.m. on a Friday night for me. So it's just,
damn, that
nice.
is
I get to have dinner on Friday night. I get to sit down and watch Clone Wars.
I feel like with East Coasters especially, it's 3 o'clock. Like, you know, Central 2 o'clock. That's okay. You know, I'm pretty much up at 2. You know, Pacific, you guys are set at midnight. England is what, like 8 o'clock in the morning, so you guys are fine. Probably the rest of the world, and like East Coasters at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, come on.
I'll watch it when I wake up. It's fine.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
It happens at noon.
I have my
I'm at work, so I have to wait until the end of the work shift to watch this awesomeness. So
for the rest of the season, I had been watching it when I wake up. But for Siege, I am not taking any chances. I am staying up till 3:30, 4 o'clock.
That's awesome.
Like I have no other choice because I know it will be spoiled. You know, people on Twitter do not hold back, and even if I avoid Twitter, those notifications come in.
Ashley already posted about the episode with like screen recording of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Endgame, like last year. It's just you should have seen it. Oh man.
Yeah, gotta shut off and see it as early as you can. So
I think the worst spoiler I ever got, I don't remember. So I think
for this new season, I just opened my YouTube app like one time, and there was this channel called Kessel Run Transmissions, and there was just Bo-Katan and the Night Owls in the middle of the Walkabout arc. I was like, wow. So they're in this episode. Go
listen, excuse me.
We got a lot of shit from about this.
Excuse me. Every other YouTuber was using the same thumbnail. We all knew they were going to be in the arc. It could have been 10 times worse than that. You know what? I spared you, in fact, because last Friday I didn't put Maul in my thumbnail till like 24 hours later. So
God bless you. Thank you.
Let's be honest, had he put like the Martez sisters as his picture, like people would have just closed their browser anyway.
Exactly.
Martez sisters. How about Disney themselves? They're like, all right, here's a trailer for the arc as it was starting like a month ago, and they're like, here's right in the beginning of the trailer a shot from the very last scene, and there's Ahsoka walking up the ramp with Bo. And by the way, the sisters, they're fine. Tension for this arc. Goodbye.
Biggest spoiler. So Mark, what are your final predictions for next Friday's episode?
Yeah, so I was looking back at some of the things we had talked about last week. I think we're gonna get the Maul Ahsoka duel next week, and I think we'll finally see the Chancellor. I was thinking, or the soon-to-be Emperor, Palpatine, whatever. Like I know that I didn't think we'd get him today, but I hope it's Ian McDiarmid. You know, they could even grab audio from episode 3 if they want to. I don't care. Like reuse the audio. It could be a redone scene if needed. Because he's so important to the overall story of all of this manipulation and driving all of the events of the prequel saga. Like even though this is Anakin and Ahsoka's story, like he's very much the puppet master of the entire backdrop. So we need to see him, and I don't want it to be in like the last episode. Like I want it to happen a little bit sooner. So I hope we see him. I'm hoping we get a really awesome duel, and I think we will. And I think actually, and I didn't think this at first, but now I do. I think Order 66 is going to happen next week.
Okay.
Oh.
I think if Order 66 does happen again, they better use the original score. Like the music itself is like probably.
I agree with that. I will say.
I love all the incorporation that we got just today of the music from the original movies. Like when the intro happened and they used the fanfare from the opening to every Star Wars movie. Like, my wig was in orbit, honey. Like,
Yeah, I have to say about Order 66, I actually prefer that they use the Jedi we've already seen. And the only reason I say that is because I feel like the emotion of seeing, sounds really messed up to say, so sorry. But the emotion of seeing like Ayla Secura gunned down in the Clone Wars like iteration of her, and Plo Koon blowing up, like, dude, that's no. That will
makes
get
perfect sense then that they would be the heavy hitters for Order 66, because we didn't spend time with, you know, like any of the other Jedi in the series. It was them that, you know, George and Dave and the crew took time for us to get to know better. And so it makes sense to you know, actually see, like we're seeing now in the intros, like with Ayla and Plo, that paid off again after now the whole series making the effort to grow those characters. Because, you know, I mean, obviously Depa Billaba and other Jedi that were not present, while it would be cool to get them thrown in there as well, you definitely want to get the Jedi that we've been made to love throughout the series first and prioritize.
Well, I will raise you one Ayla Secura and Plo Koon with, I'm going to raise you a Terra Sinube, Dukas Nu, and a Young Jedi.
Yeah, all the younglings.
I mean, okay, because like the Clone Wars has proven that they can emotionally be more stable and mature than the movies. So if they want to do darkness for like with emotional weight, not just darkness for darkness' sake, they will go there. So
I know you guys are not Rebels fans very much, but it's really emotional.
I love it.
When, you know, when the Inquisitor is talking to Kanan, you know, and he's telling him about, he's recounting the story.
Yeah.
And he goes, what did she say to you? And he goes, run. You know, I would love to see that, you know, come to life. You know, Dappa Billaba on the ground go run, and you have those two clones from the comic that were chasing down Kanan or Caleb. You know, I think that would be emotional. That would be really.
I'm just crying right now, like imagining the younglings dying. Like I'm already going there in my head, and I'm starting to tear up.
Gunji, poor Gunji. Gunji going down. Gunji going down.
You know, I should probably add this before I forget, but like, I don't hate Rebels. Let me just get that out of the way. I know I give it. I love Kanan. I love Hera. I love Zeb. I just, you know, I
like Ezra.
I hate 70% of Rebels, but that's just.
No, that I'm aware. I will say that I have issue. I take issue with a lot of the series, with certain decisions.
No, Rebels has some amazing episodes.
I just like the ending.
Yes.
You know, the ending was just, it made me a puddle on the ground, and I think that level of storytelling is going to translate into Clone Wars. I think it's going to evolve, you know, and he's going to make it just that much bigger, you know, than
no doubt. No, I mean the finale. This should I say this?
Go ahead.
This episode right off the bat, I think shows already an upgrade from
what
you know. I think this episode already has like such an upgrade in writing from even the finale for Rebels, which I think is phenomenal. Which is not dissing the finale for Rebels. I'm just saying I think like. I feel like I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, it just shows the improvement. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying.
It's a fair point, I think, in saying that Star Wars is a little too constricted when confined to a platform like Disney XD, for instance.
Right.
Because Star Wars is just it's so much more than a lot of the week-to-week stuff we got in Rebels, I think. And to me, this episode in particular, and really, I mean, including even the Walkabout arc. And the Bad Batch shows you the potential of Star Wars animation and the storytelling with Star Wars animation. And this is the bar that was set by the Clone Wars. Now everyone is being reminded of that and just how far Star Wars animation can go more consistently as it was with the Clone Wars. And I think it's going to be really tough for people to come down from this. And Corey and I have discussed this a little bit too, is like, will there be a new, like maybe a smaller generation of fans that start on Disney Plus. They watch the Clone Wars first,
Yep.
and they see these new episodes, and then they watch Rebels and are like, what the hell is this? And then they get to Star Wars Resistance, and they're like, I'm gonna watch some Marvel movies.
Yeah, I mean, I think
interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I think Rebels is definitely. Like I said, I'm not. I don't want to like. I love anybody who loves it. I really do appreciate. I appreciate what they did with the Clone Wars characters, what they did with Ahsoka. But I think Clone Wars, like this finale, has proven that, like the quality, the animation, everything can be movie quality. Well, but and then again, this is not normal for the show itself. But so I don't want to put it too high on a.
Yeah, everything about it feels very much like a feature Star Wars film.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
yeah.
I
And I
think
also just
Twilight
think
of the
Bad Batch
Apprentice is like
and
some of the
Walkabout, too.
best. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think Twilight of the Apprentice is some of the best elements in all of Star Wars. Like they've got things in there that I still get wrecked about, seeing Ahsoka and Anakin see each other after all that time. No, they got some phenomenal moments in that show.
And the world between worlds is still one of my favorite concepts that I feel like will be explored so much more in the future. Like that's one of my favorite things looking to the future of all Star Wars content is exploring the world between worlds. I think that's just
100%.
I'm also a sucker
Yeah.
for time travel, but yeah. That's cool. And that was Rebels. So yeah, this some
So
great
do you guys I'm thinking we talked about this last week, but I see a lot of people in the comments saying this. Yeah, I mean, the Grand Inquisitor showing up as a Jedi Temple Guard would be incredible. We said it last week, but I would be all over that.
Oh yeah.
I think the Grand Inquisitor is the best villain of Rebels. For sure, he is.
Well,
yeah,
the thing
Jason
is,
Isaacs. Wonder if they'll bring him back for it.
Well,
I would love that.
That
Yes.
sounds awesome. Well, the thing is, like you said, prediction about next week. I'm pretty sure Order 66 is gonna happen. Like with the whole like sirens going off for the attack on Coruscant, going off exactly when Ahsoka is talking and like getting the lightsabers back. I think Order 66 will be executed at the exact moment when Maul has the chance to either kill Ahsoka or something like that. And the rest of the arc for the last 2.5 episodes maybe is gonna be just Order 66 and the ramifications and like repercussions and aftermath of that. So I could see an entire sequence, and I hope we do, on Coruscant or at least something.
Yes.
Because it has like the whole thing is with the Clone Wars, and especially this episode alone. This is the first episode, part 1 of this movie basically, and it already has outdone the last 5 movies that we've gotten in theaters. It's already
You're not wrong.
outdone.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to bring down those movies because I love Rogue One and Solo, but this episode alone has had more emotional stakes, better writing in general. Because, like, kudos to Dave Filoni and Saul Ruiz for the writing and directing, respectively, this magnificent episode, which I thought that the attack on Mandalore, especially because of the previous arc, was gonna happen like maybe in episode 2, and I was worried that Order 66 and the emotional stuff was gonna be rammed and crammed in the last episode. But now I get the feeling they have paced themselves very good, because that was the problem with the previous arc, is that like with Umbara, sorry for the fans of Umbara, but Umbara, Onderon, and the Martez sisters arc, they could all just be sorry.
Sorry, keep going.
No, I'm sorry that I'm saying something blasphemous, basically. But some arcs are epic.
Dude, I just said something blasphemous to all of you guys about Rebels. Go ahead, please.
Oh no, it's like no worries. I mean, but I think like Umbara was great, but I think what would have been even better if it was just 3 episodes. Same with Onderon, because Onderon and Umbara had a lot of setup, and the Clone Wars this episode, like Old Friends Not Forgotten, does not waste its time like setting up and talking. No, it just like that just goes. It doesn't waste time. It doesn't it doesn't do the mistakes. I mean, I'm not calling them mistakes, but like lesser aspects of the show, like especially there are some moments that if they don't go anywhere, they're wasted. So I think.
Yeah, you mean like condense them more? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like,
I mean,
Umbara's
yeah.
my favorite arc, so.
Same. Thank you. Yes. Same.
Well, like I have had this argument before. Like, we don't know how important an arc is at the moment. Well, this arc is of course important, but like for instance, some people have said like an argument. One episode could be more important than an entire arc, and could have more ramifications and influence on future storytelling. Like my favorite episode, Massacre. Like that's my all-time favorite episode, and it influenced more Star Wars than Umbara ever did, because Umbara happened, it had some callbacks to Order 66, and it was forgotten. While Massacre influenced everything that happened with Ventress, and it even influenced the Jedi Fallen Order. Spoilers.
That was such a great game. I mean, like, I do want to stick to Clone Wars because, like, that's what we're here to talk about. But,
Yeah,
you know, if any of you haven't played Jedi Fallen Order, play it.
Yeah, it's
It's
only worth it.
fantastic.
It's worth.
I have a
just
question for everybody. So at the end of the episode, we're seeing Ahsoka completely surrounded. She's got no backup. She's got guns at her back, at her front, and Maul there. Obviously, we know that she's not going to fight him in that room based on the trailer that we've seen, and she's going to be moved to another place. Does anyone think that she's going to challenge him in the way that he challenged Pre Vizsla for power?
I do.
She must know the story from being with Bo-Katan.
That
Is
might
she going to
be,
challenge him for the control of Mandalore?
Right.
You know how what Maul called her Lady Tano. Lady is a Mandalorian title because Bo-Katan is Lady Bo-Katan, and Lady Ren is Sabine's mom. Lady is a Mandalorian title, so you think, how did she?
And he does call her Lady Tano in Rebels.
I'm so glad you brought up the lady title, because when she said Lady Bo-Katan, I was like, why is that a thing right now? We've never heard her addressed like that.
That's exactly what I thought.
And then it reminded me of Lady Tano with Maul. So thank you for making that connection, because I was thinking about that earlier today, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who was obsessing over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to Rebels again, there was a couple things that Maul said, that you could key in on. He's like, you running away again, Lady Tano. That's a big thing in Twilight of Apprentice. He goes, are you running away again, Lady Tano? And then go ahead.
I would also say, like, Ahsoka's my favorite character, but at the moment, she's not able to take on Maul. Like, she couldn't win that duel, regardless. She's been out of it for a little while, and he's probably at his peak power. So my money would be on him. So there must be some type of outside influence, which is probably the start of Order 66 that crashes this individual duel. Because she or other people like come to her aid to stop it. I really don't know exactly how it's going to go down, but it's going to be an epic fight. But Maul should win that fight. Like he really should, and it should be kind of no contest.
Well, I think Filoni's gonna leave it ambiguous, and like I said, Order 66 is gonna interrupt this, and it's gonna go all the hell. Just nobody's gonna win. Everybody's gonna lose.
Oh yeah, it's all losers from here on out.
I'm curious if they're gonna do a tie-in like with the Ahsoka novel and kind of have the clones get involved, because I mean, to your point, Ahsoka is obviously amazing, and this is something that we talked about last week as one of our predictions. Like, is Anakin and Obi-Wan going to express some level of concern that Ahsoka, who is amazing, but she's going to face Darth Maul, alone with the clones in Bo-Katan, granted, but they're not Force users. They can only do so much. And I was surprised at how confident they all are in themselves. I mean, Obi-Wan's just like, gonna go save the Chancellor. Anakin's like, I got Grievous. Ahsoka's like, I got Maul. And it's like, all right. I mean,
you got to figure Ahsoka was fighting Grievous when she was a little kid.
Right.
I have a question. I have something that I want to bring up. Did any of you see a scar on Rex's head today?
I wasn't looking, actually.
I'm going to check right now.
Because we're getting pretty close to Order 66, and I don't think I saw a scar on his head.
I'm looking right now, and he does not have a scar.
We had a commenter last week. We had a commenter last week that referenced Rebels, and they clearly said that Rex, Gregor, and Wolf did not turn on their
I stand by that quote too.
We see both sides of Rex's head in this episode.
I'm just starting to wonder, like, when's it going to happen?
I think it's a perspective thing, though, because they're saying we didn't turn on our generals, meaning they didn't turn on those chips. They were just being used as a trigger, right? They were just, they were being used as a weapon.
It wasn't a conscious choice.
Right.
Are you able to resist the chip? I mean, do you turn into like a zombie for a minute, a zombie trooper?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, Tup was a mess. But I mean, can you resist it? That's what I want to know.
I think there are some defective chips out there. We saw that in the season 6 arc about that. So it's possible that someone like Rex and those guys just happen to have defective chips, or they see it coming, or they get tipped off. I think we could take bets on this now. I think they get tipped off that they are chipped somehow, or something's
that might be
coming,
how
and they're going to try.
Maul. Remember how, Chad, you keep talking about Maul being at a crossroads?
Right.
I think he may give that information to Ahsoka, like when Order 66 gets called.
Yeah.
And it might be after he gets captured or something, and he's like, "Hey, listen, this is the final plan's happening. This is all the Jedi are going down."
That's what
And then, maybe Rex is like, "What? I kind of heard of this from, Fives." He does something maybe in the med bay, and then things actually start happening.
Yeah, he's going to give up all the goods. He's going to give up the whole story. He's going to talk about the entire war, and he's going to go, "Hey, join me."
I need to hear my boy Fives name drop just one last time before this series.
and then Rex is going to look down and mutter under his breath, like, "Oh shit, Echo! I didn't tell him."
Well, Saw Gerrera got mentioned, so Fives is he has to be. He has to be mentioned.
I just want a scene where Rex gets emotional, thinking like, "Oh my God, Fives was right."
Fives was right.
And then I want Ahsoka to be like, where is, and then Rex, there's a 5-minute conversation about Fives where it's just all about him. And Ahsoka and Rex talk about Fives, and that's what I want. So,
just 5 minutes.
All right, well, whole thing. 5 minutes of Fives. That's right. I have to say again, Jesse, ARC Trooper Jesse, man, like every time I see him, I think about you. And I get worried every time.
The only real thing we've got is that small moment from the trailer where Maul looks like he's like force gripping at his head, like try to pull information out or something, and maybe that's how Maul gets the information about. I don't know. I don't know, but it's not looking good, is it?
Well,
did you notice him in today's episode?
Sorry?
Did you notice him in today's episode?
No, I don't think he did. Was he under the bridge at the start?
He was in the gunship. He was in the gunship with Rex and Bo-Katan.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So many callbacks, just like those clones from the 212 that they are not possibly, but look like Waxer and Boyle, and I got a little emotional about that, and Numa and stuff like that.
I would have loved to seen Boyle. Like that would have been
around. Boyle somewhere.
Well, the guy who saluted Ahsoka in the hallway had a haircut that looked like Boyle, but Boyle, I think, had a mustache.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I first saw it. But alrighty, guys, we're gonna go ahead and cut it off here since we have been going on for almost 2 hours now, which is just what this episode has brought to us. I mean, we could go on for hours talking about it. So we're gonna save the rest of our conversation for next Friday. So first and foremost, guys. The Clone War, I say that a lot. I gotta cut that. I feel like I've said to you guys the whole time first and foremost. So it's time to cut that and just say that the Clone Wars series finale airs on May 4th. So
you were right. You were right, dude. You said it months ago. You were right.
I did. Yes, I got something right. I was like May the 4th, Clone Wars series finale, and here we are. I will also say that Chad predicted a couple things to happen in this episode that did end up happening. So again, props to you.
Thanks, man.
You've been right so far. Eric, Yes. Where can everybody follow you on social media? Eric Patrick Cameron.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Eric Cameron Film, Instagram at Ness, and yeah, and you can find me here, Kessel Run transmissions for these Clone Wars roundtables that have been a blast every week. So yeah.
Yes. Dan Curdo, my friend.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Can I answer the question of what I predict?
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I forgot about the dance. I got so sidetracked.
20 seconds.
I don't want to predict anything. I would like to see sort of check-ins during the finale, during these last couple episodes, of characters like Hondo, of characters like Cad Bane, just characters that we've seen that don't necessarily have anything to do with the story. Maybe in a montage, background, something's going on in the galaxy. You know, the attack on Coruscant was a huge part of the micro series. We'd like to see that in this series, and obviously a huge part of the beginning of episode 3. It'd be kind of cool if we saw something like that happening here. Could be a montage, could be just part of the opening sequence, whatever. But I'd like to see some of those characters from this series that we have grown to love over the years, like Hondo, like Cad Bane. I would just like to check in with those guys again.
I would do anything to see Cad Bane again. Anything. I mean, one of my favorite characters, favorite bounty hunter of all time.
Well, I want to echo what
early. He'd be a good one to see get gunned down.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Costa New, wipe her out, man.
Oh, if he makes it to the comics, they won't wipe her out.
Oh yeah, don't worry, Vader's got you covered on that one.
Yeah, Jacasnu does survive. But I echo what my fellow Dan does say. I mean, if they reference,
I love that fellow Dan.
I mean, yes, my fellow Dan is right. I mean, if they did reference Shakti and the Battle of Coruscant from the micro series, I would not.
Got to be a reason.
No,
right?
I'm not. I will not be shocked if they do what the old Clone Wars did, and they did these little quick montages. I think they were like 20 seconds long, of quick, like my favorite one was with the Separatist march theme, or at least the Republic march theme from Episode 2, set to victories of Separatists across the galaxy. And I would die. I would just die if Dave Filoni, that genius, decides to just take the Wookiee arc, the Bad Batch arc with the Wookiees, the episode with Mon Cala maybe, and just splice them like here, and just showcase everything in a very neat little manner, and showcases like what people have said, Hondo and Cad Bane, maybe Tikus. I mean,
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
If you had like Captain Fordo and Mace Windu riding on a vulture droid, flying around, destroying people, that would be kind of cool. Just nod to the Tartakovsky suit.
Oh man,
yeah, little things
they
like that.
Fordo canon.
Yeah,
and as we said before, he brings that stuff in so naturally. Like we would get that. The casual viewer would be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," but I don't know what it means. Like that's why they call them Easter eggs. That's what I would like to see. More stuff like that.
Yes. Dan's, my fellow Dan, yes.
There's a Facebook group for Dan's. It's really strange.
Yes,
there is.
That's right.
Anyway,
awesome. Well, Mark, where can we follow you, sir, on social media?
So I'm on Twitter at Darth Von Olin, and you can follow all of the Tops handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Tops, TOPPS. And just a reminder, we'll have official photos from tonight's episode of Siege of Mandalore Part 1 up on the Star Wars Authentic site on Monday. And the photo ads are like not stopping anytime soon. So we just put up a bunch of stuff from Rise of Skywalker, Jedi Fallen Order, more Rise of Skywalker's coming, and then of course the new photos each week for Clone Wars. So a lot of good stuff going on.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. Jesse?
I'm at The Forces of Jesse on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and also I host the Star Wars Go Figure podcast, which is on those same platforms.
All right, very cool. Brian?
You could catch me at customsforthekid.blogspot.com. And in the sidebar, that's where you can reach us like on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, all those places. And you could also catch a whole photo shoot of the Ahsoka that Elias just made, Corey.
Yes, it is actually it's right behind me here. Looking phenomenal. We've got Ahsoka and the clones.
Oh, yeah.
Top notch.
So
Top
it's,
notch.
yes, I think you guys are going to be excited too for next Friday. But that leads into Chad. Where can everybody follow you on social media?
You can find me at PeakObi1 Custom Creations on Facebook or at PeakObi1 Custom Figures on Instagram. And I will be showing, well, no, you will be showing a couple figures next week of Bo-Katan and Darth Maul. So there you go. There you go. A little treat, a little tease. But that's where you can find me.
Yeah. Awesome. Ross?
Yeah, you can find me at Michael MGF on YouTube. That's my main channel. Clone Wars Showcase coming up with a custom Season 7 Ahsoka and everywhere else at MGF Customs.
Very cool. Elias?
Just the same places you can find my dad, www.customsforthekid.blogspot.com. And then in our sidebar, you can find links to our Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and is that
YouTube.
all of them? YouTube. Forgot one. We always forget one.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all there.
All right. And Dan Grievous, if you have any predictions as well, I know we missed you.
Oh no, I kind of like sneaked into the other conversation. Sorry about that. And like
When did your cat get there?
Oh yes, this is Greyjoy, by the way. Like not Theon, but Greyjoy still. Like he constantly gets worried when I talk to the phone. So yes, but the whole thing is that my predictions are that we're gonna see a lot of awesome things, and I have all the faith in Dave Filoni that he is gonna surprise us with a lot of things that we're not even expecting to happen. Like the Almac fight. I mean, that was something nobody wanted, but I'm so happy that it exists because I thought he was gonna just be there standing on the chair and die. But fight. But
it's kind of like Solo, the Star Wars story. We never asked for it, and we didn't expect it. But when it hit the theater, we were all like,
yeah, same thing. It's like I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm hoping to see more than just Ahsoka and Darth Maul next week, and hopefully, like everybody else said, a lot of cameos and appearances from other Star Wars characters, especially some of my favorites. And we'll see. I mean, I would love to see one last time Grievous and maybe Tikus and other favorites, but we'll see. I mean, the Force works in mysterious ways.
Namely
so...
Tikus.
Namely Tikus.
I believe in them. I have faith in them. I think they're gonna deliver, and I think they're gonna do really cool.
Dude, I mean, dudes, like, I'm the guy who's I'm overjoyed by a little cameo of a few seconds of Grievous. I would be one of those people that I would just cheer if my character dies on screen. I mean, some people are fortunate to complain about characters that get entire movies. I would be happy if my character appears, says hi, and dies. So it's that kind of. I would be happy. I would be blessed if Dave Filoni remembers Tigus and decides to just have him like die by Anakin's hand. I would be honored because that means that Tikus would have finally made it to the Clone Wars, like Dave Filoni said about him. Like, let's see.
Your love for Tikus is inspirational.
You should change your name, the full name, Daniel Tikus Grievous.
Oh yes, well, I do go on some social accounts as Dan Tikus, but the problem is that at least people know how to pronounce Grievous, while I have had several years, a lot of years, a problem with people saying, well, it's Tikus, Tox.
I bet. Don't forget Grievous.
Yes. Oh, no.
Oh man.
But yes, but like it's. I mean, if Dave Filoni and George Lucas would create a Tikus, I mean, I don't want to make it about Tikus because this is about Ahsoka and Maul, but like
we let it go.
Filoni has shown us that he knows what the fans want, and he's gonna give everybody something. It's like if you don't love something as much, Dave Filoni's gonna deliver. So. We're gonna get everything. I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna get something.
I agree. Well, alrighty, guys. Thank you for listening to another episode of Kessel Run Transmissions Clone Wars Roundtables. I hope to see you guys back next Friday to discuss The Phantom Apprentice, where we're going to get Ahsoka versus Darth Maul and see what is going on Mandalore. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm excited. I hope these episodes continue to be 30 minutes long, and I can't wait till they cut this into a full movie because that is going to be glorious. So, yes.
I could see this being aired at Celebration, so at one of the future celebrations.
100%. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We're all still quarantined, so it's just,
Corey, it's actually really funny that you mentioned about it all being cut together in a movie, because today I'm like in the shower, like having shower thoughts, and I'm like, yo, remember when they like cut everything together for Savage and Maul to make a movie?
Oh, yeah. Yes, the Darth Maul Returns. Yep.
That was cool.
Yep.
That was really good.
All right. Thank you all for what's crazy? I just thought about this, and this is for Ross and Jesse. A year ago, yesterday, we all stumbled upon Dave Filoni in the streets of Chicago.
Yeah. What a day.
I can't believe it.
What a day.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
All of a sudden, Dave just like we ran out of the pizzeria, and which I think they believed we were just taking off.
Doing the dash. My dad told me, they thought that we just dashed, and that was that. It was, by the way, the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life that we were running from. So that's yeah.
Guys, Jesse, Ross, and I, and we had so many great memories in Celebration. We met Dan, we met Chad, we met Mark. I mean, this thing was phenomenal. I just have to mention it was a year ago, a couple days ago, and it was one of the best, I think, memories, like just a couple of days.
Really good.
It was hard to believe it was a year. Like that year's just gone.
It's so weird because it's like I vividly remember so much of Celebration Chicago, and then other things are hazy. It's the weird.
It
makes it feel like it was last week, but not really.
Well,
I mean, it was a long show. It was 5 days. Like I've never been to a convention that long before.
Yeah.
Well, it's keeping us warm in these times. So.
There you go. Exactly. It's weird because I live in Chicago now, and I was like thinking like, wow, a year ago, it's like I never left. But it is interesting. Anyways, thank you guys for listening, and as always, may the force be with you. Good night.
Good morning. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, I got to roll.